Hi everyone, welcome to episode 12 of the full stack series with Django and React. And in this episode, we are going to work on creating new blog articles. Understand? So users can come on board to create new blog posts, right? So first and first, so you're going to click on the create post button, click on it. So before you can create a new blog, you must be logged in. So we are going to use JNet. So we're going to say JNet, and then let's put in a password, and then we'll say sign in. So right now we're trying to sign up as JNet. Once JNet is signed in, she can proceed to create a blog post, right? You can see right now we are on the create post page. So it's time for us to start creating our blog post. And how do we go about that? So over to your projects. So we have over to your projects. I'm going to close some of these files. So in the pages folder, let me close some of these files. In the pages folder, we have a file called, let me check it out. So over to our pages folder, there was a file there called create post page. So yeah, so simply open the file. And we're going to use our React hook form. We're going to use the register, and the submit to create a new blog post, right? So first thing first, I have to simply get, I'm going to say const. Let's get some stuff ready. I'm going to say const. Now we're going to get, right now I want to get register. I want to get undo submits. Undo submits, if I'm correct. Yes, I want to also get form state. And we're getting this from use form. And use form is coming from React hook form. So we've gotten what we want. So let's import use form. Import use form. Yeah. From React hook form. So we've got right now we have use form imported. So we are going to go down to each of our fields now to capture the inputs using the register keyword from use form. So now here's our input field. Yeah, here's the input field here. So as usual, I come over here, put in the curly braces. I'm going to say register. Right, so once you capture the values, register, right? And the field is called title. It must be the same name as what we use on the back end. So I recommend, so on the back end, to create a new blog. So I mean right now to create a new blog. So right now I'm looking for our serializer. So now on the back end, to create a new blog, we need this field called title. We need title, we need category, we need the author. So we need title, we need the category, we also need the content, the featured image. You can see all this text here. Whatever you are doing on the front end, the text, the whatever you are doing on the front end must match with these fields we have here. You understand? So right now, some of the fields are optional. So even if you don't provide value for right now, slug, you don't need to provide a value for slug from this form. You understand? So our slug is being created automatically. As for the author comes from the logged in user creating this blog post. You get, so right now these are the important fields: the title, the content, the category, and the featured image. And if we check closely, they all appear. We have title, we have the category, we have the content, and we have the featured image. So we are providing values for these four properties. And why you are providing value for them, these words, they must match. They must be of the same spelling, the same case. It must be low. If it is lowercase here, it must be lowercase on the front end. You get, if it is uppercase here, it must be uppercase on the front end. So right now we have title here, and over to our front end now. We're also trying to capture the value from our title field on the front end, and they must be of the same form, the same size, the same case. You understand? So we just captured the title field. We just captured the title field from the front end, and now we want to add some extra validation. So I want to say that this field is required. We're going to say required, and we're going to simply just say let's say blocks title is required. Blocks title is required. And I'm also going to add a max length whereby I'm gonna say mean length. So it must be at least 3 characters. If I creating a blog, your blog must be at least 3 characters. I'm gonna say value should be 3, and then the message, if it is lower than 3, want to display an error message. I'm gonna say message should be equal to, I'm gonna say the title must be at least, the title must be at least 3 characters. You get, so that's how it should be. So now that's it for the title field. So I'll simply just copy this for the register for the other field, so it'll be fast with this episode. So for the content field, which is the body, this part, right? So yeah, so I'll paste this here, and it is called contents. This should be going to say blocks contents is required. The minimal length, let me just see, the minimal length should be 10 characters. And over here, we're going to say the content must be, let's say the content must be at least 10 characters, right? So we'll do the same thing for, okay, right now, we are using the select field over here now. The select field, it is a bit different from what we've done here so far. So what we're going to do now is this. So over here, we'll simply capture as usual, and this field is called category. It's called category. We're going to say register. I'll say category, right? So this field is also required. I'm going to say required. Let's say, let me just copy this. The blocks category is required. Blocks category is required. So we've got this now. So right now, once we've got this, now the next step. So whenever a user pick a category, we want to capture the value the user selected. For example, whenever a user clicks on the drop down and picks a category, we want to simply capture the value this user selected, right? So right now we're going to work on that, and here is how we do it. So over here, so outside of the curly braces, so we're going to say on value change should be equal to, so right now we're going to capture the value that was selected, from the drop down, right? And then we're going to come over here and say set value. Set value is coming from React hook form. Just copy set value. Let's import it from React hook form. Yep, so set value, and then where are we? And then we're going to set the value of category, yeah, the value of the field to the, we're going to give category, we're going to give category the value, we are going to simply assign the selected value to category. We're going to simply assign the selected value to category. We're going to say, yeah, that's what we are going to do, and that's how it's done for the select field. So right now, let's work on the featured image. It's also the same thing, right? So we also may just say register, and the field is called featured image, featured underscore image, right? And then I'm going to pass, so I'm going to say required. I'm going to say let me say blogs featured image is required. Blogs featured image underscore image. Let's say blogs featured image is required. And we'll say, yeah, that's all we need for this, that's all we need for the featured image field. So let's just cross check everything. Contents, this should be, let's see, small t, blogs title. Okay, now, so right now we are done capturing the fields. Okay, so right now we just finished capturing the fields now. So what happens if a user fails this validation? What happens if a user does not meet the validation? We are meant to display an error message, right? So I'm sure you're familiar with that already. So we're going to just move over here. Right now we have to import error from form state. Going to say const errors, right? Should be coming from form state. It's going to say equal to form state, right? Yeah, so we've got these errors now. So back down here, yeah, over here. So just put in our curly braces, and I'm going to simply check. I'm going to say errors. I'm sure you're familiar with this. I'm going to say errors, then put on the question mark, then dots. I'm going to say errors or title. If errors or title dot message, right? If it exists, I'm going to simply display, add this small, I'm going to say small, yeah. I'm going to then add the error message here. I'm going to give it a class name of, I'm going to say text should be red. Class name should be equal to, let's say text red. So just, I'm going to give it 700, right? And then we pass in our error message inside the curly braces, which is, I'm going to say errors dot title dot message. But you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking we should create a component for this error messages. We are going to create a separate component for it, and we can do that, right? So now I'm going to call the component input error. So instead of having to write this code for every input error, it's better we just create a component for it. So and yeah, over here, over to your UI folder, UI components folder, just create a new file called input error, input error.jxx. We're going to just say array command suggested array here, and then so I'll just simply copy this code, copy it. I'll just replace this with it, and we are going to then expect the error as a prop error, and we'll pass that error over here. Yeah, so that's it. And then we're going to come over to our create post page and import. Then I'm going to simply just, let me just remove this. And then we're going to simply use the components called input error. I'm going to say input. I'm going to say input error. So just is for me. Yeah, that's it there. We're going to pass in the error prop. Error. Remember, it's expecting an error prop, which is this. I'm going to pass it, and the value is going to be equal to this errors of title.message. I think this is better than having to write this line of code every time, right? This is better. So we're going to do the same thing for the other fields. Just copy. Let's just paste it. This is for the content for the body. Just paste it here. I'm going to say errors.content, errors.content.message. Then the input error is going to be errors.content.message. Yeah. So once that is done, what's the next step? So and don't forget, we also use this. We also use this in other places, like in our sign up form, in the sign in form. Like I'm going to replace those. I'm going to replace all. Let me show you what I'm talking about. You can see all this stuff we have here, like this. You can see it here. This is for the sign up page. You can see we have them there. I'm going to replace all this with a new component called input error. You understand? I think this is better. Don't you think so? So right now, let's simply do the same thing for our select field. We'll say category, errors of category. Then we'll pass the same category down here. Let's do the same thing for our featured image. That should be over here. Oh, sorry. Just copy that again. Should be featured image, right? Just copy this, paste, and yeah, so we've gotten this now. Let me just save it to format my documents. Yeah, so yeah, we've right now been able to capture our error messages also. So right now let's try console. I'm going to create our own submit function. I'm going to say function. I feel this is quite small. Okay, let's say function on submit. Sorry, the space here is too much. On submit. Then I'll just say console.log data. Let's see if what we've done so far is working. Console.log data. So over here, we're going to just say whenever the form is submitted, on submits should be equal to, we're going to say undo submits. We'll say undo submits, right? And then we'll pass on submit in here. Now, okay, so right now, let's try submitting the form to the browser. Click on the submit button. Perfect. And so now we got all the error messages now. So if I input just one character, and it says the title must be at least 3 characters. So I think it's working. So I'll just simply paste in some data. You just test what we've done so far. Let me just copy this, Ctrl A, Ctrl C, paste here. Let's pick a category. Let's call this front end. Let's give it an image. And let's just simply select something there, and let's open the console. Our form is not responsive. No, we are going to work on that. It's not fully responsive. Okay. It's not fully responsive. I'll work on that. I'll work on that. So now let's try submitting the form. Let's try submitting it. Click on this. So let's see what it gives us. So right now, all the fields are all there. The title, the content. We have everything, the title, the content, the category, the featured image, right? So they're all there. That means you're making progress. So next thing is for us to submit this data to the backend. So let's work on that next. Okay, so right now I added some styles to make this form much more responsive. You can see now it's looking better on a smaller on smaller screens. So I think it's looking better. I added some styles quickly, some tailwind styles. Okay, so this is done now. What's the next step? So the next step for us to submit the form is for us to submit this data to the backend, right? So how do you go about that? So remember, let's go for right now. The endpoint for that is the endpoint is called create blog. Create blog, right? This is the endpoint. So back to the front end now. So we're gonna go down to our, let me make this bigger so you can see it. So let's go back to our, go back to your services folder, and then open the API blog.js file. So over here, I'm gonna just say async function, async. Hope I spelled it well. I'm gonna say function. I'm gonna call it create blog. Right. So this function is expecting a data, and that's data we are meant to pass to the backend. And this data is an object. So if I'm gonna just say try, I'm gonna say const response. I'm sure you're familiar with this already. I'm gonna say await. I will say API dot post. And the endpoint is called create underscore blog. Then /. Whenever you're making a post request or a put request, you're always meant to add this / in front, right? Then we are going to pass our data. And then we're going to return a response. Going to say return response dot data. And we're going to catch any error that might show up. I'm going to say throw new error. I'm going to say error dot message. Just save. Okay, perfect. So you've done this now. So you have to export this function. Yep. So this is all we need. This is what we've done now. So what's the next phase? So over to our create post page, we're going to use our React query as usual. We've been using it. So just here, I'm going to just say const mutation should be equal to use mutation, and it's called use mutation, right? And it's coming from where? React query, right? And where we are. So the mutation function, I'm gonna say mutation function. Our mutation function is what? That's the create. Sorry, that's the mutation function is called the create blog. It's this function here, create blog. So come on, yeah, here is it. Click on it. Then we are going to pass this data. This data we are meant to send to the backend. I mean, this we are gonna have access to the view data over here, right? So once that's done, we are going to check if it goes well. We're going to say if it is a success, if we were able to create our blog successfully, we want to simply show some indications that the blog was created successfully. So first thing, you're going to just simply you're gonna simply display toast message. I'm gonna say toast the success. Toast, let's import toast first. Toast dot success. Oh, do we have toast imported here? Okay, we have it here. Nice. So say toast the success. I will just say new post added successfully. New post added successfully. Right, and we want to also navigate to the home page. Instead, I want to also navigate. Once you create a new blog, want to navigate, want to redirect to the home page, right? And over here, I'll just say const navigate should be equal to use navigate. And then I'm going to simply just say navigate to the home page if we create the blog successfully. That's the home page. Where are you? So our home page. So once you create a blog successfully, okay. So once you create a blog successfully, want to simply call this use query again. Want to trigger it again. So once it is triggered again, it's going to simply catch any change that was made to any of the blog. So you want to simply trigger this use query again. And how do we trigger it? Every query key are meant to be unique. So we have blogs here. So we want to simply trigger this query key called blogs. So by triggering it, it's going to simply watch out for any change that was made to any of the blogs. If any change was made, it's going to simply refresh itself to get those new changes. Hope you understand. So that's how you do. So now, whenever you make a post request, it's always better you recall that query key, so it can look out for any new change that was made to the list, to the query set. For example, now we are working with the blocks query set. So back to our create post now. So we are going to come over here and say const query clients. I'm going to say const query clients should be equal to use query clients. Yeah. And then we'll simply just say query clients. It should be, let's add it up here too. So we're gonna simply, what was wrong? Const query clients. Are we doing the wrong way? Okay, it's perfect. Now I'm gonna say query clients dot invalidate queries. And then we'll say query key should be equal to blog. So you are trying to simply refresh the blog's query key again so it can pick up the new changes that was made. You understand? So remember, these blogs, they must be unique. So we are trying to simply call these blogs again. And this blogs was assigned here. You can see where it was assigned. So by calling it again, it's going to watch out for any change that was made to the blogs, so any of the blogs, and then it's going to simply reflect. It's going to simply capture the changes and then display it for us on the page. So that's it now. So how do we? So right now it's time for us to call this function. but we cannot just call it instance. So we are going to use the form data to pass the data to this function. We are going to use JavaScript form data. So why are we using JavaScript form data? That's because we are trying to also post an image. So by posting an image, we have to use the form data. We cannot just send this data like this. We have to use form data to decode, and because right now we are trying to create a blog that has an image file with it. Let's assume there was no image file with our blog, where we can simply just call this mutation function with this data and we are good. But right now the case is different because of we have an image file as part of the object we are assigned to the backend. So we cannot just use data. Instead, we're going to use form data. Okay, so right now let's use our form data. So I'll simply remove this console.log and I'll say const form data should be equal to new form data. Yeah, they will say form data dot append. They're going to say title should be equal to data.title. Remember, data is an object that contains the title, it contains the content, it contains the category, it also contains the featured image. So I'm going to then say form data.append content.append, right? Oh, what am I doing? I'm going to say contents. I'm going to say data.contents. And let's also say form data.append. I'm going to say category. We're going to say data.category. And lastly, you want to also append the featured image. So before we can append the featured image, you must make sure the data has featured image, right? So we're going to say if data dot featured image, because image, of course, an image must exist before you can append it to the form data. There must be an image for you. You cannot just append an empty string or an empty data to a forms data to a form data. So you must check if the image exists. If there's an image, then we can append the image to the form data. If not, don't append. I'm going to say if so right now we're checking if the data has an image. If it has, we're going to then say form data dot append. Sorry, it's called form data dot append. We're going to then say featured image should be data dot featured image square bracket 0. So that's how we do it now. We understand, because this featured image we have here is a list of images. It comes as it comes as a file list. It's something like an array. So we cannot right now we cannot send an array to a form data. We cannot pass an array. We can only pass an individual file object. So that's why I have to get access to the first item, to the first file in the file list by saying data.featured image then square bracket 0. So this is what we need to do. This is what we need to do now. So once you've done this, now the next step. So right now we can then say mutation. Remember, mutation is right now. Mutation is coming from here. But this is an object. This is an object on its own. Mutation is an object. So the actual function is called mutate. And that mutate is inside of this mutation object. Then I'm going to say mutation.mutate. And then I'll simply just say form data. So with this now, everything should work fine, right? It should work fine. It's the browser. I'm going to create a new article right now. So I'm going to go down to lorem ipsum. I need some dummy text. So right now I'm on lorem ipsum. I'll simply just copy. Let's copy this dummy text here. So back here, I'm going to create a new blog post. So let's just say Vue.js focus for beginners. I'll paste this lorem ipsum as a body, and then I'm going to say let's is a front end post. And as for the featured image, I'll just let's pick something. Let's see something nice. Okay, open, and then let's create post. Click on the button. So right now it's creating the post. So we're going to add a loading indicator. You can see it says new post added successfully. If you check closely, the post was getting created. We are going to add a loading indicator on the submit button to show that something is really happening, right? So if I close this, now you can see now we have this. You can see it says Vue.js focus for beginners. Right here, we cannot see right now the author is Janet Michael. She does not have a profile picture yet. So we are going to work on updating user's profile later. We are not there yet. So the author is Janet Michael. Our profile picture is blank. There's nothing there. So now you can see we just made a new post, Vue.js for beginners, right? So we can read about it. The author is Janet Michael. So that's it. We're not done. So one more thing. Let's go add. Whenever you're creating a a new blog post, you want to simply add a loading indicator that says creating. Why? In a sense, it might take some time. You want to just show that something is going on. And instead, wants to make the user know that something is going on while you get. So let's add that. We want to add that loading indicator right now on this button. So right now, let's add the loading indicator on this button. Let's add the loading indicator on this button. So how do we go about it? So here's the button. This is the button over here. This create post, this region. So we're going to say in this mutation object, you also have a field called is pending. So if is pending is true, that means the post is being created, right? So while the post is being created, we want to add an indicator that shows that something is going on. We want to add that small spinner. So right now, let's go add the small spinner. So over here, I'll just add the curly braces. And then I'll just simply say mutation dot is pending. If it is true, right? Let's add the React fragments. We're going to add first thing first. Let's add. We're going to say small spinner. I think that's what it's called. Small spinner is that small loader. Small spinner. Yeah, we've got the small spinner now. We want to also add this. We want to also add this small text, right? With right now, yeah, we're going to say small text. The small, we are using the small tag, the small HTML elements, and then over here I could just say, let me just copy this text. I'll just say creating posts, right? And let me just put this those three ellipses. Now give it a class. I want to say class name should be equal to. I'm going to say text. Let's give it a text of, I think 14 pixels is enough. Or let's say 16. 16, let's say 16. Yeah, but this is not the best way. I'm going to simply create a component for this. I'll create a component for this error message, for this loading message. So I'll just copy this. Okay, let's copy this now. Let's copy and then back to our UI components. I'm going to create a new file. Let's open it. New file. I'll call this file small spinner text. Let's call it small spinner text. Yeah, .jxx. Yeah, and then just say RAFCE. Now paste in the code. That's paste it here. And right now we're gonna be accepting a prop. We're gonna call it text. Just copy and then replace this with the prop text, right? So this is what we need to do. And back to our create post now. We're gonna then replace this entire code, this code here, with a small spinner text. I'm gonna say small. It's called small spinner texts. Yeah, that's it. We are going to pass this, going to see we're going to pass in the text prop, and the value is going to be, it's going to be what? Creating posts. Right, so that's it for the small spinner text, right? So I'll simply do the same thing, copy this, and then over here, replace this create posts with the small spinner text, and this time it's going to be simply create posts. So for over here, if is pending is true, we're going to return the spinner and then a text by side saying creating posts. Else, we're going to return a text that simply says create posts. Create post, right? So that's what we want to accomplish here. Let me just save this. Right, so that's what we want to do. Let's try again. Let's copy some lorem ipsum text. Let me just say JavaScript for let me say JavaScript for dummies. Yeah, JavaScript full course for dummies. So we have our body. Let's pick front end. Let's create an image. Open. And then click on create post. You can see, right? That's nice, right? And we have our new blog written already. We have it there already. That's nice. So you can see now, right now we added this new components called small spinner text. We're going to replace this on the login page. We're going to use this on the login page and also on the sign up page. You understand? As well as we also added a new, what was it called? We also added a new component called input error. We're also going to use this on the login page and on the sign up page. So right now I think we are done with episodes. I think this is episode 12. I think we are done with episode 12. So the next episode, we are going to work on a new feature. So if you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed it, so subscribe. The source code is linked in the video's description. So thank you for watching. We'll see you again in the next episode. So bye-bye.